Today I'm making Angry Birds levels I drew as a kid, starting with level 1, which I drew when I was 11 years old. It features an enemy encased in some rocks next to a gate, and to take it all on is one bomb bird. It's a basic level layout, so it should be easy to make, right? Well, for the most part, yes, but I ran into an issue with the gate, being that there is no gate in Angry Birds. What the hell was I thinking? I had to search this long list of objects from the editor I was using, and eventually decided on a purple bounce pad, and it was then that I realized something. I'm gonna have to get very creative with these levels because 11-year-old me was extremely ambitious. My first mistake was the choice of an editing tool. Instead of a traditional drag and drop editor, I was using a spreadsheet style editor, which meant I would have to place objects by typing in a bunch of numbers, which wouldn't be so bad if it didn't hide the level every time. This essentially meant I would have to guess where to place each object until I got it right, which took forever. Which brings us into level 2. 11-year-old me thought making a rising mountain would be a good idea, so I learned the hard way that there are no slanted ground objects, and combined with the previous point mentioned, I spent 2 hours rotating and placing ground tiles to form what might be the biggest structure in Angry Birds history, only for the level to be unbeatable anyway. The only saving grace is that I put a tunnel, otherwise I probably would have given up right then and there. It got easier moving on to level 3, but I was confronted with a new issue. In my design, I had put a slingshot up on a platform, but the slingshot in-game was actually hard-coded into a specific spot, and I could not move it and had to rearrange the level. Additionally, I had given this enemy multiple health, this being because 11-year-old me wanted to reimagine Angry Birds with new ideas, such as boss fights and non-pig enemies, which is why in level 2 there was a spiky turtle. In the end, I had settled for a helmet pig sitting on a shelf with some TNT. Level 4 was much more normal though. I had built a house for 3 pigs, each of them paying me $1,000 a month to live there. As a bonus, I even threw them a ham so they wouldn't go hungry. Now level 5 was interesting. I had built a giant sword-holding robot made of stone, and it was my most glorious creation, until it decided to implode on itself. 11-year-old me really was a design genius. By this point, I'd been making levels for over 4 hours and couldn't stand this inefficient editor anymore, so I did some research and learned that there's a version of Angry Birds with a built-in drag and drop editor, so I switched to that and it was the best thing I could have done. It sped up the level building process and increased my design confidence, so much so that I built an even bigger robot in level 6. And I learned a few tips from old design expert Dr. Doofenshmirtz along the way as I added a bunch of TNT to this one. Okay, maybe robots aren't for us. Let's look at level 7 instead. This was probably the hardest level for me to create due to all the non-Angry Birds ideas I added. First, in my original design, there was unlimited birds to shoot. Second, the level was made up of breakable metal blocks, something that's never been in the game. And there was also a variety of multi-hit enemies, and the top of the structure was made of ground. To combat the metal block issue, I used wood. I had designed a custom bird that could drill through metal, so I figured Chuck essentially drills through wood, although honestly, I could have used stone since I didn't even use Chuck for the slingshot. Rather, the mighty eagle, since he's so much more powerful than all the other birds anyway, it only made sense. Finally, in place of the enemies, I used 3 different pigs, and while it's a weird translation, it's a level nevertheless. The last level I designed, however, level 8, was by far my most innovative one. This one had a Hawaii theme, featuring a bunch of palm trees holding up a volcano-themed enemy on a podium. There's no tree object in Angry Birds, so I had to substitute with a bunch of wood blocks, including for the bottom platform. I was relieved to find out there is a pillar object, but when I went to test the design, the trees collapsed, so I had to make a sacrifice. At the expense of Mother Nature, I installed additional pillars, which did the trick. In the end, I completely violated my original design, but at least Grandpa will live to see another day. Or not.